or tribute to Dick Miller. You all know Dick Miller, even if you think you don't know Dick Miller. You know Dick Miller. We have a great panel in store for you. I'd like to introduce Dick Miller's widow, Lainie Miller, who's going to introduce a clip. Lainie.
Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see so many nice faces out there. Today is a day that I want to say everybody should remember. Remember Dick. There's a clip we prepared. It's just about 9.5 minutes, and then I'll bring up the panelists, and you can make them busy, okay? Can we have the show now? Believe it or not, I had not seen this till now either. I would like to bring up Jackie Joseph.
Just a little more.
Jonathan Haze. Joe Dante. I want to say this is his famous pink jacket. Looks like a nightshirt on me, but I just couldn't resist wearing it today. Each of these people on the stage have really spent quality time with Dick, and so you'll be able to ask them whatever you want. Jackie played Dick's wife at least 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 different projects. Jonathan actually started Dick in the business. Many of you don't know that. And of course, Joe, who grew up on Dick's stuff, then became the mainstay for a lot of Dick's work, for which we were both ever so grateful. We've got very, very close like family ever since. So I'm just going to ask each one of them one question, and I'm going to throw it open to you. Okay? What do you remember, Jackie, was the most memorable time you spent with Dick?
In a trailer.
In a trailer?
Yes. In New York, eating lox. It was when we were in New York shooting the second Gremlins movie, and actors are known for not having enough food ever, and the idea of free lox was like beyond. And so in the trailer, I think Lainie, you went in with the lox fetcher. She would come in, and between the two of us, and we did stick some bagels around it, don't worry. I mean, that's just a tactile memory. In my heart memory is that Dick was always kind. I never heard him say a harsh word, or he didn't even dish about people if they weren't there. You know, wherever people were, he didn't speak unkindly. You know, well, maybe a president or two. But he was a sweet man, and for all the goofy people he played, his basicness was humane family dogs. You know, he had your heart when you were lucky enough to know him. He was how you wanted to behave and how you wanted everyone else to behave. And as far as working, he became whatever he was or whatever he did. Even eating flowers, I was so impressed with him. I could hardly do my own stuff when we were doing Little Shop, because he was just savoring his flowers so much. And I thought, well, you know, while we're doing this theme, he's really eating them. I thought, where is he turning and spitting it out like a wine taster or something? But he became the flower eater. I hope Roger was kind enough to provide edible plants. I don't think so.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Can you get a
He
date?
charged us for them, but he did.
Okay. Anyway, but what do you think of Dick Miller is the kind of friend you would like to have?
Jonathan, can you add something as to how you and Dick met?
Dick and I met in New York at the Bird and Hand restaurant on Broadway. That was the first place that I ever went when I left home and went to New York. And it was just full of dancers and comics and all kinds of interesting people. And Dick and I used to stand on the sidewalk in front of the Bird and Hand restaurant and watch the people go by, and we knew everybody. We knew the dancers, we knew the actors, we knew the comics. But we had the most fun just throwing lines back and forth and trying to be funny. And then I came to California first, and a few months later, Dick came to California. And again, we were hanging out together in front of Schwab's drugstore. And again, throwing lines and meeting a lot of theater people and actors and dancers and all of that. And up until we started working together, and then we were really having fun together. So we were good friends for a long time and really enjoyed each other. And I really miss Dick. So here I am talking about him. I hope everybody likes Dick as much as I did and appreciates his work, because he was really good.
Joe, I think you have worked with him, I don't know how many pictures already, but what was the first time you decided to use Dick in a picture?
Well, I came out to California to work for Roger Corman in the editing room. I was editing trailers. But of course, I had been a fan of Roger's movies and all the people in them for many years, and so it was exciting to be doing a trailer for Big Bad Mama, and here was Dick Miller, and a fairly large part of it, and I figured, oh, how can I make it seem like it's even more of the movie? And I thought, I know, I'll get him to narrate the trailer. So we got Dick to narrate the trailer. It's the only trailer I know of that he ever narrated. And then Alan Arkish and I got a chance to make a movie for Roger. It was the cheapest movie that had ever been made at the studio, and we had to make it during the day and make trailers at night. But it made, as far as I knew, it was probably the only movie I ever got to do, and I certainly didn't want to do it without Dick Miller. So I met Dick for the first time officially at the Gay and Lesbian Center on Highland Avenue, which I think is gone now, or it's an auto dealership or something. But it was one of the cheapest places that we could shoot. They were really nice, and they let us shoot for almost nothing. And that's where his office was. He played a sleazy agent. And we just hit it off. It was like I'd known the guy my whole life, which kind of I sort of had, because I'd been watching him in these movies for so many years. And then my mission became, anytime I got a script, the first thing after I decided whether or not I wanted to do it was, where's there a part for Dick? There's got to be something in this script for Dick. And I managed to always find something. Sometimes it was big, sometimes it was small. But Dick was the kind of actor who could carry a movie, or he could just do one scene. I mean, that's a real actor. Somebody who it's not the size of the parts, it's what you make with them. And I managed to actually put him in every feature film that I ever made, including Amazon Woman on the Moon, during which he had a bit as a ventriloquist who loses his dummy in Paris, and he picks up his dummy, and his dummy speaks French, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. It was a very funny clip, but John Landis kept re-editing the movie over a period of 3 years, and so it finally ended up not in the movie, but you can see it on the as an extra scene on the DVD, and Dick is really funny in it.
Have questions that you want to ask anybody that's up here, and so I'm gonna throw it open to you all, and I wish I could see the hands. Who wants to be first? No question?
Lainie, we have somebody over here. Third row back to your left. On your left, third row.
You know, you could actually turn the lights on because we're not running any more movies.
Good thought. Okay. Yes.
I was wondering, sorry, back to
Can't hear you.
Speak up.
Sorry. I guess for Little Shop of Horrors, was there a script or was it like mostly improvised?
For Little Shop of Horrors, was it improvised or mostly a script?
It was scripted. We did improvise various points and various scenes, but there was a screenplay written by Charles B. Griffith, who was brilliant. And I give him credit for the movie being wonderful. His lines, his character names, everything were unique and wonderful. But it was definitely a scripted movie.
Yeah. And the script, I was in New York when I heard I had this job and was told there's a detective movie that's going to be shot in a couple of days. And as I was flying from New York to Los Angeles, they totally rewrote the script, and it became about the little flower shop and the 8 people. And maybe a detective or two came in after some people disappeared, and I don't know where they went. But that's how that script was. And because we were shooting the whole movie in 2 days, Jonathan and I met ahead of time and memorized the entire script. And we were helping each other so that we went to work. We would know the whole thing, which of course, you don't ever do that. You just learn it the night before, usually in a regular movie. But we respected the script and followed it.
Thank you.
I think part of the charm of the movie is the spontaneity, because we just didn't have time to really prepare. We just prepared everything as we shot it. It was wonderful.
Okay. Over there? Yes.
Yeah, Joe, what was your favorite scene or favorite movie working with Dick Miller?
Well, that's really hard. I did so many things with Dick. I did television with Dick, I did movies with Dick. I just enjoyed working with him. I was always looking forward to whichever days he worked. And if I could work it out correctly, I could keep him on a movie in downtime, and he would end up making more money. So on Small Soldiers, where he was having some health problems, we managed to work it so that he worked almost the entire run of the show, even though he had a fairly small part. But when you're making up these boards, it's really about how you drop and pick up an actor. And Dick managed, I think, probably to make a little bit more money off of that job than he had for some of the movies that I had given him bigger parts in. But just looking at the clips, you know, I mean, I just enjoy watching. Some actors I just enjoy watching, and I've hired a lot of them over and over, and you can see, if you look at my movies, you'll see the same people popping up all the time, and it's because because I like watching them.
Thanks, Joe.
Anyone? Yes?
I got another one for Joe. Did you write the specific parts for him, or did you just sort of like have the part and be like, this would be perfect for him, or did he improvise a lot? Did you just like cut him loose and let him go on most of the stuff that he's worked
Well,
on?
you got to remember, most movies are not written by the director. They're written by actual people who write. And when you get the script, very often it's in a form that's probably the movie that they're going to make. There's a couple things that I've developed on my own that have gotten made, like Matinee, but they all start as scripts. You may turn them into something else, but they start as a script or an idea. And the working with Dick he was always spot on. He never forgot his lines. In the blooper reels, there are very few scenes of Dick losing his place or blowing a line or whatever, because he was too professional for that. But that didn't mean that if you just said, oh, just do something, that he wouldn't come up with something fun. So it's a lot of making movies as relationships, and director-actor relationships are really very important to whether movies work out or not. And if you miscast a part, you're going to spend a lot of time that you should be spending doing something else, trying to fix the fact that this is the wrong actor for this part, and you've got to really, really spend a lot of time with them. Whereas an actor like Dick, who, once you've worked with him, you know the kind of things that he can do. The versatility is a big plus, because you can plug him in. I mean, he's not going to be, playing William Shakespeare, or something like that. But within the purview of the kind of characters that Dick played, there was nobody better.
Yes.
One of my favorite parts in the documentary was where he kind of got irritated with Corey Feldman on the set of The Burbs. And I wanted to ask Joe about this. Do you have any kind of funny stories of moments like that backstage?
Not really. Dick only worked one day on that picture, and Corey was on it for the whole thing. And he goofed around a lot because he was a kid, and plus he was dealing with Michael Jackson's monkey who was living in his trailer. So sometimes Corey was, a little on edge. But that moment, which is a blooper reel moment, which I don't know how they even ended up with that shot, because I don't know where they got it, it's Dick trying to be professional and trying to do his job while this kid is sort of goofing around. And he didn't have a lot of patience for that.
Yes.
This is for Lainie, Jackie, and Jonathan. What was Hollywood like in the 60s? What was Hollywood like in the 60s?
What was Hollywood like in the 60s? The three of us. I guess he figures Joe's too young to know.
Being nice.
The 60s was lots of fun. There was a lot of weed around. Everybody was really enjoying life. Now it's a hassle. And I don't know. I'm glad I don't work anymore, because I don't think it's as much fun now for the young people getting started in the business. And Roger Corman was great at letting people get started. He would, if you would recommend somebody to Roger, he would use it. And that's how Dick got started. Dick was my old friend, and I was working with Roger, and Dick was sitting in Schwab's. And finally, I said to Roger, hey, I got a great character actor for you. And he said, I don't need character actors, I need writers. So I went to Dick and I said, listen, this guy needs writers, can you write? And Dick said, sure, I'm a great writer. I said, come on, let's go. So Dick came in there, and Roger took an immediate liking to him, and instead of hiring him as a writer, he hired him as an actor, and we worked together on many movies after that.
The 60s, well, they were very fun for me. I got married in 1960, And I thought it was going to be fun, at least for a while. But at that time, I was working in the theater every night in a show called the Billy Barnes Review, which before you were all born was a very big deal here in town. And then during the day, because people who had seen this show would hire you to work in their television show, and that's how I got the Andy Griffith Show. And once you work on the Dick Van Dyke Show, you work on every little show that's shot in that studio for Danny Thomas and Sheldon Leonard, who were the producers. And so that kept you in a rondelay of working with Gomer Pyle and whatever else was shooting in the studio. But also the actors kind of all knew each other, because it was a smaller pot. And so everybody was happy for each other. And then as the 60s progressed, sad things started happening in the world. And so you just were sinking, and then you get a good job and, and try and be happy. So it was a very interesting decade, but wonderful for actors.
The 60s were a little different for me. I think that Dick would say the 60s were exactly how they said, but I was a new mother starting in 1960, and so I didn't know about the pot or any of that. I was busy being a mother. Are you hearing me? Or I'm not sure this is on.
No, it's not on.
It's not on?
If I can hear you, anybody can.
That's true. At any rate, I was busy being a mother, so I had a different bent on it. But in the 60s, the one thing I do remember is it was easier to find places to rent and live. It was easier to find food. I can remember going down the street and being able to pick avocados in West Hollywood. They were growing everywhere. You don't find any of that today. That's the 60s. Yes?
This is directed at Jonathan and you, Lainie. Could you tell us a little bit about, did Dick have much of a theatrical career prior to doing Corman's films, Sage, the like? What were his early acting years like? Was there a lot of theater work?
Dick started actually as a singer at 8 years old in the Catskills. That's where his mother took him. I can only, regurgitate what I've heard about that. I know he did some off-Broadway stuff, dabbled, but he was a drummer with Bobby Sherwood's big band in New York. All of that before. Jonathan probably could fill in other stuff.
What's that?
I said, and Jonathan could fill in other stuff.
So you mean like before the 60s, how we climbed up? I had I still do, a habit of saying yes to anything anybody asks, which really never has been untoward, which kind of hurt my feelings a little. But I used to work at night while I went to college in something that was very big in Los Angeles called The Drunkard. And they had a musical called The Wayward Way. And it was, one of those melodramas, but it was great training to work there every night. And then, in between that, I would leave town and go to summer stock. There was a wonderful place in Sacramento called the Music Circus, and you'd go up and be in the chorus for 10 shows, learning a different show every week. And then I got a job working for the actor Alan Reed, who was the voice of Fred Flintstone. And but this was before he became Fred Flintstone, and he was kind of desperate because he was blacklisted. And so he was trying to sell a toy. It was a white polar bear with a little red beanie and little suspenders that said "Cutie Bear." that was with a K. And so he was going to hire someone to travel on the road with him to sell this toy and a record. And I got hired to be this bear. And the funny thing was, when I went for the audition, I didn't even notice that it was odd that every single other person there was a male dwarf. And I was just standing there like just one of the actors. I didn't think it was weird at the time. Thinking about it, it was probably a lovely picture. But that's how, I wonder why Alan hired me, you know, to go on the road. But I got a lot of experience. I became an Easter Bunny at one of the department stores here because of that great experience. But so in between maybe a little snitch of acting job, you know, you do anything, literally anything, and you have funny first jobs. I worked in a thing called Speed Crazy once with Brett Halsey, and he was racing very fast, and I was a girlfriend he met who was a waitress, and I remember my first acting going, oh, well, I wasn't wearing that at the time. But, you know, you're just going, oh, fast. Of course, nothing was happening here. And so because of little days like that, you suddenly accident into 2 days like we had that turned into a cult film, and you know, the climb up is almost more fun than your whole career. And one of the funnest things about acting is getting chosen to do the part. There's such a thrill when they go, you. And when Joe Dante said you, it was overwhelming. You know, I never got over it. and you know, to work with one of the nicest men that exists, it was so pleasant, and my gratitude still flows. I just love you. I'll say this in front of everybody. Wonderful, wonderful.
She's asking if we had any regrets about parts that we turned down. Now, you obviously never turned down a part, ever.
No regrets. No regrets.
Did you ever turn down a part?
Did I? No. I was happy to work. I didn't care what it was, just as long as I was on the set and I was allowed to have a little freedom to be a little kooky, I was happy.
Well, I've turned down some things that probably I should have done, but I just didn't think I was the right person to do it. I was offered the Flintstones movie, and I remember thinking, I don't really like the Flintstones. I mean, it's just the Honeymooners, all, you know, a copy of the Honeymooners. And I told the producers, I said, you need to get somebody who loves the Flintstones. You need to get somebody who's got Flintstone soap. And they hired a guy who loved the Flintstones, and the picture turned out well, and everybody was happy, but they wouldn't have been happy if I did it.
I'd like to say that Dick Miller turned down one part that I know of, and that was the part of Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors. Dick turned it down, and I inherited it. And I had no time to prepare, and somehow it worked for me. And I wonder if Dick ever regretted turning it down.
No,
I talked to Dick about that. He did not regret turning it down. He just felt it was so close to the part that he played in Bucket of Blood that he felt he was repeating himself. And as a measure of how a good actor acts, he was happy to take the other part of Mr. Foosh, the flower eater. Comparatively small part, I'm sure. Only worked for, I was going to say, only worked for a couple of days, but then everybody only worked for a couple of days. Obviously, this is Seymour Fraubein is Jonathan's signature role. I mean, it's the role for which he's the most remembered, and he's done a lot of other good work, but that's the one. And for Jackie too, that you never know which ones are going to have the staying power, which ones are going to be the ones that catch on, and they're often not the ones that are popular at the time that they're new. Sometimes many of the pictures that we love are pictures that really didn't do very well when they first came out, or weren't understood, or weren't beloved, or whatever. I mean, The Burbs is a movie that is like got this shelf life that's astonishing to those of us who worked on it, because it was just another movie that came and went. But then over the years, for some reason, certain movies get through the clutter, and become popular, and people keep watching them over and over, and they become, quote, cult movies. And that's the whole definition of a cult movie. It's a movie that was only appreciated by very few people when it was new, but then as the time goes on, it ages like fine wine.
It's true, because I'll tell you, Little Shop of Horrors saved me from living a life of obscurity. I would have been nothing without Little Shop of Horrors. Still, people remember it and want my autograph and want me to get up here and answer these questions. And I'm not obscure, and I'm not just an old fart walking around. But it's true. One role can really make your life, as that one did for me.
Can I just throw in something that has nothing to do with anything?
Yes.
I have a prime memory of Dick Miller and Lainie Miller. It's one of my favorite things, seeing them. And they loved to swing dance. Dick Miller, who could be so fierce in his little roles, or so dopey, he was such a smooth dancer. And Dick and Lainie went dancing all the time. I ran into them once in a 99-cent store. And they had just come from swing dancing at this place in the valley where they knew had a big band. And when I had my 80th birthday, they came to my house and I had a little trio and they were dancing in my driveway. So I think of Dick and I think of Lainie as these cool cats, you know. So you have to know that.
I want to go back to the 1950s and one of my favorite Roger Corman undertakings. It conquered the world. I'll never forget it, including the climactic scene out of the Bronson Canyon cave when that creature got torched. And any recollections? It's just my favorite. One of just a small aside. One of my very best friends, when I met in third grade school, lived on, I think it was Beechwood Drive, on the home right next to the home that was used in the movie with Beverly Garland and Peter Graves and Sally Fisher.
That would be a question for you, Jonathan, because that's
Well,
what you guys do.
I'll tell you, I was not hired to work on that movie, and I was visiting on the set. And Roger needed somebody to be this guy that was wiped out by the atomic bomb. They quickly put all that crap on my face. And, I ended up working on the movie, which I had intended to do.
That's very good. Yes.
I was just wondering if you all could talk about Roger Corman's parsimonious nature towards movie budgets and how you kind of worked around that. I know you went on to a lot higher budgets, Joe, and you probably didn't really know anything when you were starting out other than Roger Corman budgets. So maybe like the differences in that?
I'm not sure the actors are as affected by the parsimoniousness as other parts. Because no matter whether it's an expensive movie or a cheap movie, the actors show up, they do their jobs, and they go home. They may or may not have a motorhome or trailer or decent food at lunch or anything like that. But basically their job is the same. But for everybody else, cutting corners, which is what you have to do in order to make a picture cheaply. And eventually Roger started making pictures non-union, which meant that you could hire people like me, who came from New Jersey and don't know anything about anything, and actually start working on real movies, and learn on the job. I mean, it was on-the-job training for Roger, his pictures after 1970. But before that, he worked for American International and Allied Artists. Those pictures were all union movies. So they were SAG and they were AFTRA or whatever, and so they were a little bit more expensive. But even so, Roger wanted to get the job done as quickly as possible. And it becomes particularly difficult making low-budget movies when it comes to stunt work, because a lot of times actors are going to be asked to do things that they really feel that a stunt person should do. And there are a lot of stories about the Viking Women movie that he did, where a lot of the actresses just said, I'm not gonna do that, And so if you look really closely, you can see that a lot of the actresses are played by men in some of the shots. But what's remarkable about Roger is that he managed to be as cheap as he was. He still made better product than the people who were his competitors. And also, people still liked him. I mean,
Also, Joe, he's always willing to share how he should get by on a shoestring. Because when Dick called and said, my wife wants to become a producer, he opened up the whole thing. He told them, show her the books, do everything. He's always willing to share that way. And he's proud that he will do it on a shoestring, I thought.
Well, it worked for him, obviously.
Yeah.
And what's remarkable is that there are some occasions where you can go, well, if this picture had cost more money, it would be a better picture. But within the purviews of the movies that he was making, they were really as good or better than the competition. And he managed to pocket a couple of bucks as well.
I'll
It
tell you
wasn't about money.
Oh, sorry, darling.
I'm sorry. It definitely wasn't about money. We were just happy to be working. When you're an actor, trying to get your first jobs, any job is a great job. And as a matter of fact, I made more money yesterday selling autographs here than I made for starring in Little Shop of Horrors. And it's still not about money.
A funny little financial fact about Roger, and there is no money that could come up to the experience of being in Little Shop of Horrors, but it just coincidentally maybe happened that we had to finish Little Shop of Horrors by midnight of 1959. That was it. And it just so happened that the next day, January 1 of 1960, the Screen Actors Guild contract that included residuals came into being. So he just beat it.
And so you see these people have never made a dime from this movie other than what they were paid to begin with.
Yes.
This might be a little personal, Lainie, but can you tell us how you met Dick, and when did you know that he was the guy for you?
I met Dick in Schwab's. Another actor introduced us, and I don't know, because from that day forth, I only saw him, and we were married 5 months later.
What was Dick's most challenging role?
What? It's really difficult to say for somebody else what their most challenging role was. But I know he got awfully upset about things on the Terror. and he had to sort of regroup and go back. So that may have been a little bit of a challenge for him because nobody knew what that story was going to be about. And as it turns out, he had to do, you know, a word catharsis to try and explain it in 90 seconds because nobody knew it in the movies. So I think that was his biggest challenge too.
I'd just like to say that Lainie is the most interesting woman. And besides producing this, her wonderful DVD and movie on that guy Dick Miller, which is for sale at our little hovel where we're staying in the room where everybody signs things. She, in her career, suddenly became a nurse. She decided,
I still
and then she became the chief of the nurses. And if she's going to be anything, she became the top of whatever it was. And then she decided she was going to work for labor rights, and she became the executive.
I have members of my local in the room now.
And so,
She's one.
Lainie's local. Am I not kidding? Whatever she chooses to do, she is excellent and goes to the top.
Do I have to pay you for this?
No. I just want you to know that Dick, although she was lucky to have this darling, sweet, talented husband, he was very lucky to have this amazing woman as his wife.
Yes.
I really just have a statement. Number one, thank you for representing Mr. Miller and telling the stories. It is lovely to hear. And it's a wonderful opportunity to meet Jackie and Jonathan and Joe. I just want to say thank you for hiring me for matinee. Thank you. I totally agree with Jonathan about once you have an opportunity to act, it's worth not getting paid as much as you should.
I do want to say one thing based on what you said. We will be there for a couple of hours after this, and one of the things that I have there are the last of the photographs that Dick signed before he passed. Once they're gone, they're gone. So I just thought I'd mention that we're only here a couple of hours, and if you want to come down, we'll be glad to help you. Now, we're going to be finished here in 5 minutes. So if anybody else wants to ask a question, now is the time, because they're going to cut us off. Yes?
Was there any movies that he was cut from that never made it to his credits? Like on...
Well, I can think of one major one, which was a kind of a disappointment for Dick. He went to the premiere of Pulp Fiction, and Quentin Tarantino said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I'm in the movie." And Quentin said, "No, I haven't told you. No, you're not in the movie." He shot a scene in the movie. He's a character even though they talk about, but the scene didn't make it into the picture, and so Dick's not on the movie. And I think that's one that got away.
But then in the DVD, the scene is back in, and the residuals do come in from it. Yes? No,
It's in the movie?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Reconstructed version. That's news.
He knew an editor.
Anybody else? Yes.
You said that, this goes to Joe, you said that he probably couldn't do Shakespeare, but could he if he had to?
Yes.
No, I meant he couldn't play William Shakespeare.
That's what I mean. But he could do something Shakespearean.
Yes, of course he could. He could do anything. And he also had, he doesn't always have that accent.
Right.
He could do accents too. There's just there's a blue collar quality to most of Dick's performances, and so he doesn't end up playing, you know, Blofeld, you know, or something like that.
I've just been given the high sign to wrap it up. I want to thank you all for all the support that you've shown throughout the years. If it wasn't for fans like you, we wouldn't eat. So thank you.
Thank you.